For centuries, we believed humans had five senses: sight, hearing, touch, taste, and smell. Then, modern science added a sixth, the sense of balance. A few researchers even argued for a seventh, intuition. But deep in a forgotten neuroscience lab in Kyoto, Japan, a team of scientists stumbled upon something extraordinary, something they called the eighth. It began with a young neuroscientist named Dr. Rika Aizawa, who noticed a strange electrical rhythm in the brain that didn't match any known sensory pattern. It wasn't vision, sound, or touch. It was something else, something that activated when subjects were in total darkness and silence. At first, her colleagues dismissed it as background noise, a meaningless spark in the neurons. But when Rika tested patients in sensory deprivation tanks, something shocking happened. After 20 minutes in complete isolation, every subject reported seeing something. Not hallucinations, but structured visions. Distant cities, unknown faces, and sometimes flashes of light they described as alive. When their brain scans were compared, the same neural signature appeared every time. It came from a deep, ancient part of the brain called the claustrum, a thin, mysterious sheet of neurons often called the seat of consciousness. That's when Rika realized this was not imagination. It was a forgotten sensory channel, dormant in modern humans. Her team named it Sensum Octavus, the eighth sense. But here's where it gets even stranger. Historical texts from multiple civilizations hinted at something eerily similar. The Vedic scriptures called it pratyahara, an inner perception. In ancient Sufi manuscripts, it was referred to as basira, the eye of the heart. And in lost Mayan records, carvings depicted humans surrounded by rings of light, as if perceiving the invisible. It wasn't just science anymore. It was history catching up with the future. Within months, Rika's findings spread quietly across secret research networks. Some said activating this sense allowed glimpses of other dimensions. Others warned it could break the fragile boundary between the physical and metaphysical worlds. When one of her test subjects disappeared during a session, leaving behind only the faint outline of his body burned into the isolation tank, funding for the project was abruptly cut off. The lab was sealed, the data classified. But not before Dr. Aizawa managed to back up one fragment of her research, a recording labeled the Awakening Protocol. And it's this fragment that has recently resurfaced online, causing a wave of fear and fascination worldwide. What exactly did she discover? And why are some claiming that the eighth sense can now be awakened through sound? When the file known as the Awakening Protocol appeared on a hidden server in early 2025, it was only 47 seconds long, just a faint hum layered with strange subsonic pulses. But within hours of its leak, reports began flooding in from people who had listened with high-quality headphones. They described sensations of pressure behind the eyes, faint colors forming behind closed eyelids, and then, a powerful feeling that someone else was there, not outside, but inside their awareness. Online forums exploded with theories. Some said it was an auditory illusion. Others claimed it was a government experiment gone wrong. But one particular neuroscientist, Dr. Omar Reyes from Madrid, noticed something astonishing. The sound's frequency spectrum matched the brainwave signature that Dr. Aizawa had recorded from subjects experiencing the eighth sense. Omar re-engineered the file using neural resonance mapping and invited a small group of volunteers for testing. The results were beyond comprehension. When exposed to the modified audio in a controlled chamber, the participants' EEG readings began syncing across identical patterns, as if their minds were linking together through a shared frequency. One of them, a musician named Lena Kovac, described seeing waves of light that responded to her heartbeat. "It's like the universe was breathing with me," she whispered, tears in her eyes. But it wasn't all beautiful. A few volunteers collapsed mid-session. One woke up unable to recall his name, only repeating, "The signal is alive." When Omar shared these findings with a closed community of scientists, half of them warned him to stop immediately. The other half wanted to take it further. Among the files recovered from Dr. Aizawa's sealed lab, a digital note surfaced, time-stamped just before her disappearance. It read, "The sound opens the inner lens, but not everyone is ready to see." What did she mean by that? As the sound experiment gained underground traction, more and more people began uploading their reactions to social media. Some claimed to feel expanded consciousness. Others showed violent tremors or described black geometric shapes hovering in their vision. It was as if the awakening protocol was tuning humanity to a frequency that had always been there, waiting to be rediscovered. Soon, Dr. Omar noticed something terrifying. The volunteers' brain patterns began to form a recursive loop, one that could sustain itself even after the sound stopped. In simpler terms, once you awakened the eighth sense, it didn't go back to sleep. And now, rumors spread that a hidden collective of awakened individuals, calling themselves the Resonance, was forming across the globe, communicating not through words or technology, but through this newfound sensory channel. But the question remains, were they evolving into something greater, or waking something ancient that had been sleeping within us all? Within weeks, reports about the Resonance began spreading across the dark web and encrypted chat rooms. People from different countries, Japan, Egypt, Brazil, and Turkey, started describing the same dreams on the same nights. Each dream began with a glowing geometric sphere floating in total darkness, and a voice whispering, "Do you remember the first frequency?" Governments dismissed it as mass psychosis amplified by online echo chambers, but something far stranger was happening. Satellite data from the European Space Agency showed localized electromagnetic anomalies, faint, rhythmic pulses appearing exactly at the times people claimed to experience collective resonance episodes. Even more unsettling, these pulses match the same subsonic frequency embedded in the awakening protocol. Dr. Omar Reyes went into hiding, but before vanishing, he sent an encrypted email to a close colleague. It contained a simple line: "They're not hallucinating, they're harmonizing." In cities like São Paulo and Istanbul, people began gathering in abandoned warehouses, calling them frequency houses. They would play the sound in darkness, meditate together, and share their visions. Eyewitnesses claimed the participants' breathing would synchronize, followed by flickering lights with no electrical source. A journalist from Global Tribune managed to infiltrate one of these sessions. His last post before disappearing read, "When they opened their eyes, I swear, the air itself moved. Scientists were split." Was this a new form of neural entrainment, or the beginning of something the human nervous system was never meant to access? Meanwhile, the world's largest defense research agencies took a different interest. They theorized that the Resonance might be tapping into a shared electromagnetic consciousness field, a neural internet of sorts, connecting minds without hardware. But then came the Vienna event. During a closed UN symposium on cognitive technologies, every monitoring device in the building simultaneously froze. Delegates later reported hearing the same faint hum, the identical tone from the awakening protocol. A few seconds later, the glass walls began to vibrate, and one of the digital clocks on the wall displayed a string of binary code: 01 Hausa 1, 001, 101, 010, 010, 10, 0110, 0, 010, 120, 010, 101, 010, 010. When decoded, it read, "Find her." The feed cut to static. To this day, no one knows who or what sent that message. But one thing became clear. Dr. Hana Aizawa, missing for over a decade, was somehow still part of this story. And if she was alive, she might be the only person who could explain whether the eighth sense was the next step in evolution, or a signal sent from something far beyond human comprehension. By the year 2039, the world had split into two invisible factions. On one side were the Resonance, believers in the awakening, convinced that humanity was evolving into a higher cognitive species. On the other, the suppressors, governments, corporations, and secret scientific groups determined to silence the frequency forever. What started as whispers online became full-scale global tension. Entire communities were labeled cognitive radicals. Internet blackouts rolled across regions suspected of harboring resonant gatherings. In the shadows, AI surveillance systems were reprogrammed to detect brainwave anomalies, hunting those whose neural patterns didn't match the human average anymore. In the city of Kyoto, a resident named Aya Nakamura live-streamed what she called the collective pulse. She placed electrodes on her head, activated the awakening protocol, and broadcast her EEG feed to thousands. At first, viewers saw erratic lines. Then in unison, they synchronized into a single perfect sine wave. Her final words before the feed cut out were, "We've reached coherence. We're not alone in here." Within minutes, her stream was deleted from every platform, but copies survived, millions watched, and something inside them changed. In Washington, Project Silencer was launched, a covert operation to develop cognitive dampeners, ultrasonic weapons that could neutralize the frequency response in human neurons. The devices were deployed secretly during protests where residents gathered, causing sudden fainting spells and memory loss. Meanwhile, in a remote Icelandic facility, leaked footage revealed an underground chamber with rows of subjects in neural suspension tanks. Above the chamber door, a phrase was painted in red: "Awakening is a disease." But for every attempt to silence the movement, the resonance only grew stronger. The more people tried to suppress it, the louder it became, not in sound but in presence. Strange phenomena began to occur worldwide. Animals migrated in impossible patterns. Compasses failed to point north. Children born during the resonant wave displayed unusual sensitivity, reacting to subsonic vibrations adults couldn't even hear. And then came the message from the Deep Signal Array in Antarctica. Scientists monitoring cosmic background radiation detected a pulse, identical in rhythm and tone to the awakening protocol. It wasn't coming from space. It was coming from beneath the ice. When analysts mapped the signal, it outlined a shape, eerily similar to the human brain. Only upside down, Dr. Hana Aizawa's name appeared again, this time in a decrypted file labeled Convergence. It contained just one sentence: "The eighth sense isn't new, it's returning." The world now stood on the edge of an unseen war, one not fought with weapons but with consciousness itself. The world was unraveling. Power grids flickered, satellites lost alignment, and communication networks went dark. Not because of war or sabotage, but because something deeper, something alive, was moving through the electromagnetic field of Earth. Dr. Hana Aizawa had been missing for 6 years. Many believed she was dead and were erased by Project Silencer. But in January 2040, a transmission appeared across every remaining frequency band. It carried no video, only a voice. It was hers. If you're hearing this, it means the threshold has been crossed. The frequency war is over. We lost the system, but not the signal. Around the world, people reported hearing her voice, even without any device nearby. It wasn't sound, it was resonance. It vibrated in the chest, the bones, the soul. Governments scrambled to regain control, but digital firewalls collapsed as data streams began behaving like living entities. Files regenerated, code rewrote itself. The internet, once a network of machines, and became a living pulse of thought. Meanwhile, resonance across the globe gathered in silence. No communication, no words, yet somehow they were all connected, feeling the same rising hum under their skin. In an abandoned observatory in Chile, a group of scientists replayed Dr. Aizawa's final signal at a low frequency. The ground beneath them trembled. Seismic sensors registered the vibration not as an earthquake, but as a pattern, a perfect neural waveform 13 kilometers wide. It wasn't coming from the Earth, it was the Earth. Dr. Aizawa's archived research revealed her final hypothesis. Human consciousness didn't evolve on Earth. It's Earth that evolved to sustain consciousness. The planet itself is sentient, and the eighth sense is its voice within us. As the resonance reached its peak, people began to remember things they never lived. Memories of past civilizations, dreams of future worlds, knowledge of languages they'd never learned. It was as if the collective consciousness of humanity had merged into one living memory spanning millennia. Then silence. For the first time in weeks, absolute stillness covered the planet. In that silence, a single pulse echoed, soft, deep, and eternal. A new dawn rose, and with it, a realization that changed everything. The eighth sense wasn't a mutation. It was restoration. Humanity had finally reconnected to the living frequency of the planet, the forgotten heartbeat of creation. The voice of Dr. Hana Aizawa spoke one last time. "You were never meant to conquer this world. You were meant to remember it." The signal faded, and then, for the briefest moment, every human heart beat in perfect synchrony. No one called it the end of the world. They called it the remembering.